Hello friends, welcome to UPSC Logics and my name is Siddharth and today I am going to discuss the partition of Bengal 1905. So we shall also have a look at the protests that occurred during the course of partition as well as before and after the partition of Bengal and which led to the Swadeshi movement. So let us begin this video. Now, Bengal was partitioned by Lord Curzon on 16th of October 1905, and the reason that was given that it had become too big to administer. This was also a correct reason because the population was almost 78 million in Bengal, and instead of dividing Bengal on non-Bengali regions, it was divided on the basis of Hindus and Muslims. So the whole idea behind the division of Bengal was a political one. And this was to divide the Hindu politicians of the West and East Bengal and to increase the Hindu-Muslim tensions. This particular division or partition of Bengal affected whole of India and Indians regarded it as an insult and a challenge to their nationalism or nationalistic feelings. So a movement was launched under the moderates and Swadeshi and Swaraj became the slogan of the day. It was only at a later stage that the militant revolutionary leadership took over this particular movement. Now the demand for Swadeshi and Swaraj had become quite evident during the protest of partition of Bengal, and Swadeshi was nothing but use of Indian goods or Indian manufactured goods by the people of India and boycott foreign goods. And Swaraj of course was the self-government. So we know that the Congress was divided into moderates and extremists in the Surat session of 1907 where the Congress was split, and in 1915-16 Home Rule League was started by Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak. So this particular league kept this demand for self-government for India after the First World War was over, and this whole nationalistic jingoism that was going on in the country had an impact on the Congress in the Lucknow session of 1916. So there was a reunion between the moderates and the extremists and also the signing of the Lucknow Pact between the Congress and the Muslim League, who kept a demand of separate electorates in front of the government. However, this left the way open into the future for communal politics. And we know that in 1928, when the Nehru report came out, he had left out the demand for separate electorates for the Muslims. And when Muhammad Ali Jinnah came out with his 14 points in 1929, Nehru had called them Jinnah's 14 silly points. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah actually drew away from the Congress and called it parting of ways, and in 1934 took over the reins of the Muslim League. So, so we can see that this seed of this Hindu-Muslim divide had been planted during the partition of Bengal that ultimately led to the partitioning of the nation. The Muslim League passed the Pakistan Resolution in 1940 and it had actually welcomed the Cripps mission as well for a simple reason that it gave the any province that did not want to be part of the Indian Union the option to form its own constitution. So these were the developments that occurred after the partition of Bengal. Now let us have a look at the actual protests that occurred because of partition of Bengal. So the proposal of partition was known as early as 1903 or December 1903, and there were immediately protests that started happening. So around 500 protest meetings were held in East Bengal alone, and nearly 50,000 copies of detailed critique of the partition of Bengal was distributed among the people. A powerful press campaign was also launched by S.N. Banerjee, Krishna Kumar Mitra, and Prithvesh Chandra Ray. So newspapers like Bengali, Hitabadi and Sanjeevani became the mouthpiece of this particular agitation or the protest against the partition. There was a vast protest meetings that were held in Calcutta in 1904 and January 1905, and a number of petitions were signed by as many as 70,000 people alone. So 70,000 in today's time sounds to be a very small number, but you can imagine that the kind of political awareness or the number of people that were involved in political activities was pretty low at that point of time, and it was just developing. The nationalistic feeling was developing, and it had not still taken over the way it did after the partition of Bengal. So 70,000 is a huge number. And the Jamidars of Bengal, who were always with the British or the patrons of the Britishers, also joined forces with the Congress against this partition of Bengal. Now, despite all the protest and the meetings and the moderate methods, the government remained unmoved, and it announced the decision to partition Bengal on 19th of July 1905. That was to be effective from 16th of October 1905. So this made the nationalist leaders realize that the moderate methods had failed and a different kind of strategy was needed. So within days of the government announcement, numerous spontaneous protest meetings were held, and these were held in basically towns like Dinajpur, Pabna, Faridpur, Tangail, Jessore, Dhaka, etc. And in these meetings, the pledge was taken to boycott foreign goods. A number of other meetings also took place in Calcutta, where students decided that they were going to use Swadeshi. So in the next video, we shall have a look at the origin of Swadeshi movement and the course of Swadeshi movement, and see how this whole Swadeshi thing grew into a nationalistic feeling across the masses of the nation. So friends, this brings us to the end of this particular video, and I hope you have enjoyed the partition of Bengal. There is nothing to enjoy about it but the video partition of Bengal. And do like and subscribe to the channel if you have enjoyed watching this video, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get the latest notification from UPSC Logics if you are watching it for the first time. So thank you so much, and Jai Hind.